as Dr. Vijayalakshmi was mentioning, the alternative model of health care. My own dream or hope is that this presentation will be a time for our postgraduate students to pause and look at some of the aspects of the health delivery in our country. And this model I present, I hope that the young students now and future consultants will have their own model of, of evolved, developed. Welcome to Otanchhatram, a picture taken in the night with the emblem which says the motto, serve in love. And this is the busy town of Otanchhatram now, which was once a very small, unheard of, sleepy village with no bus stand, no taxi, no electricity in many villages surrounding. Now it has become a bustling town, and this is the location for those of us who are from the north, way down in the south in Tamil Nadu. Meet one of the founders and his wife, Dr. Tharien Mariamma, and they are arriving in Otanchhatram. So the villagers even now say that they just bought one box in their hand. They didn't bring much money or capital. The capital was their heart's conviction and the sense of call. And the 5 people you can see here, 2 families, the doctors, they were trained in Miraj Medical School, LCPS, and later they did the MBBS after that. And the person with the gray hair in the middle is a lab technician and the first nurse. So this was the small team which came to Otanchhatram in 1955. Why Otanchhatram? This was chosen because of its backwardness. It is a rain shadow area, drought and famine and unemployment, poor medical facilities. But this is not a very good picture, but remember it was taken about 60 plus years ago, no digital cameras. And when I saw the people in reality as a medical student, 1960s, I used to visit once a year this hospital, go to the villages with the founders and see the need. You can probably barely see the houses where the roof is falling apart, like their own lives falling apart. And another pictures, same scenario, unemployment because of lack of rain. And when I visited these villages as a student, I was shocked, I was moved, and here by seeing them, I received a call within myself that this is the place I will go after my graduation. It's almost as if they're saying in unspoken words, will you come? And leprosy was so common in some hamlets in a village, 80% leprosy. And so also tuberculosis. I don't know, the students can make a spot diagnosis, and this is not a disease, it is iatrogenic. It is the quacks giving a branding with hot iron applied on the forearm and or hand for treatment of anemia. I still remember this patient. I saw him. He had anemia, which he later was getting treatment in the hospital. If you look behind him, you can see the type of houses, just mud. They are cracking and thatched by palm leaves. And kwashiorkor, marasmus, these conditions were fairly common in the villages. And that's something I don't know whether many of our students would now see. Odanchatram in the 50s was such a backward place. No proper housing, sanitation, not even electricity. A poem the founders found helpful. Go to the people, live among them, learn from them, love them, start with what they know, build on what they have. But of the best leaders, when their task is accomplished, their work is done, the people all remark, we have done it ourselves. That's very interesting. We have done it ourselves. This is the house where the one room clinic was started in 1955. The title in the slide is Haunted House. You know, the belief in the villages sometimes, if a person commits suicide, that house is haunted, no one can live there. So, as they were looking for some place to start the clinic, the people said, why don't you take this haunted house? Nobody wants to live there. They were very happy. He said, no rent, and you can use it. And then on, as one of the founders said, the spirit of service and love haunted, so to say, that place. That was the clinic. You can barely see a nurse standing just behind one pole erected in front. She was the first nurse. In this house, clinic, a miracle happened. One day, a very young woman was brought in obstructed labor, and only cesarean would help, as she had CPD of severe degree. And so it was told to the relatives there was no way to transport a sick patient those days. There was no taxi, no ambulance. 60 to 80 kilometers away is the nearest city where cesarean can be easily done. So what they do is if a person gets such problem, they take them home and inevitably to die eventually of ruptured uterus. So this was a great dilemma for the founders and the sister over there. If we don't do anything, she will anyway die at home. So to make this story short, the cesarean was done by God's grace. There was both the mother and baby recovered well. No operation theater, no lamp, no anesthetist, under open ether. And interestingly, the baby born that day is my patient. Because I am a physician, he comes for diabetes. And I asked him, how was it? What did your mother say? She said she was going to die before the surgery. Even after surgery, he said, I was very sick. I never hoped to survive. And of course, she did survive. And now that incident was a breakthrough in terms of the work. Many people came to see to the clinic afterwards, more in number. Of course, several of them to see the mother and the baby. The baby taken out through cesarean was the first experience in that village. And of course, the patient number gradually increased. Then the quarters, a place to stay. The problem is the houses are very simple, attached and brick walled and whitewashed. But the main problem was there was no toilet. First doctor's quarters, nurses' quarters. The same issue. Simple, the roof is sort of coming off in some places. So I asked one of the founders, the doctor's wife, a lady who worked in the earlier stages, and he said, "What was your most difficult moment?" She said, "Without toilet, going for open defecation in the field. I was not used to that." So, such was the life in those days. No inpatient wards at that time, only outpatient. These houses are actually situated opposite to the clinic on the side of the road. The roof itself will tell the story of the condition, the poverty, many a patch. And these people but had a very generous heart. They said, if any patient needs to have daily injections or treatment and cannot go back to the village because there is no transport except sitting behind a cycle and somebody pushing the cycle, they can stay in our house. What a great heartedness. And the first wards were all bamboo ward, we call it, because the bamboos was easily available and palm leaves also common, just ordinary buildings. Why such building? Why not Paka buildings in the beginning? There was no money actually. The founders didn't have a large capital, as I mentioned when they came. They brought some smaller amount of money to just to set up a clinic, and then so there was no big money. No, the principle at that time was for the founders that they will not ask for any donations, neither from our country nor from abroad. Foreign donations also not taken. They said we will work hard. We will take less for ourselves. Whatever income comes, we will put it in the development of the hospital. No profit, all plowed back in developing. So, very small beginning, very small growth, and no sudden spurt of large, posh buildings. Same, another ward. You may wonder why a cycle is shown there, and the founder, when he was older, his picture, everybody had a cycle only at that time. No one had a car. That was the official vehicle uh, to go. And then the next stage of developing more permanent buildings. Because of this principle, the aspiration to be indigenous and not depending on external funding, but on their own work. The growth was slow, but it was steady. The sisters, look, all not trained in the regular courses, but the taught by the one trained nurse who was in the team. And so the next phase of similar wards, all unburned bricks. I used to say, like the bricks you see, the hospital was built brick by brick, not in a sudden large buildings coming up over days or months. slow, no fan in any of the wards or houses. Very hot place. We say there are only three climates in Ottanchatram, hot, hotter, hottest. And yet the team survived joyfully. And next stage of buildings. How did the income come? Every service provided had a price. The price was very much small charge compared to outside. If any patient had difficulty to pay for injection or something, 5 rupees. If they had only 3 rupees, they will pay 3. If they have 4, they will pay 4. So we asked them, how much can you afford? This is the charge. And that's how so every person was able to avail what was available and possible. And then came the more permanent buildings with the savings. The main secret, as I said, was the team, the people who worked, took so little for themselves. Initial few months, a year or two, nobody had a salary, 2 pairs of clothes, common food, a place to lay their heads like a hostel. Families had a separate accommodation. And they put everything in the development of the wards, the buildings, the chapel where we meet for prayer in the morning. And yet, the most saddening thing is children at this stage coming very late, coming and not making it, come with infection, bad diarrhea. There was no pediatrician, no other medical specialist. I was alone for several years. So I used to look after the children also, and also psychiatry. So multitasking. Every doctor saw every type of patient. But I took special interest in medicine, pediatrics, and psychiatry, this marasmic child from the village. And so the hospital started the community program. There we found malnutrition is a major issue. So supplementary feeds were started and village visits by our nurses. I don't know, you can count the number of children in this photo. It may not be one family, maybe a neighbor's children also joined to see the sisters for a photo op. And so visiting, you can see the picture of poverty and deprivation. Open wells with no protected water supply was a source of frequent gastroenteritis, and cholera was endemic because of the wall is so small. If a rain comes, the water can even get inside the well. And the busy open air village clinics was an opportunity to see the poor people because they hesitate to come to the hospital. And we have to go, our team, a doctor, a nurse, health worker, or the other ladies you see there are actually chosen from the village itself and trained. They were illiterate, but they could learn. And also teaching the children with flashcards in their hands, our sisters. You can watch an old lady also is listening. She thought probably better late than never. It was not only a question of illness, sickness, but also a question of livelihood. You can see the age of the children are there, boys and girls. They have to go to work to sustain. So we started a scheme of giving loans to buy goats and later buffaloes, and these loans are very easily repaid without interest. And you can see the background, quite dry place. And basket weaving was introduced as to augment the income. And another agency came forward to put the first borewell, a protected water to drink in Odanchatram. As the work progressed, there's also other needs came up. These are children with no parents to look after them for some situations. And later, so we built a home for them, for the boys particularly, called Boys Home. They were educated, they were able to get jobs after they finish. All that was met by the hospital. And we have also had a program to train village girls who could not complete plus 12, plus 2, so maybe 7th or 8th. They were taken and trained to become home nurses to look after sick patients at home. The outpatient gradually increased because the charges were quite affordable to the ordinary people. Our target population is the village people, mostly farmers. But farming was difficult because of the drought situation. Every day, at average of 1,250 to 1,500, the medical OPD where I was involved had 600 patients in the per day. Hospital has 300 beds and 500 staff, 120 doctors, and that is a great miracle that many people offered to come in spite of the low salary. Many departments. I don't know, you can read one day's products, but that's not the best way to describe these cute little ones. A busy obstetric. And later the clinical department started one by one. And I do not go into the details of that because we had a psychiatrist and pathology, palliative medicine, radio diagnosis, physiotherapy. TB and HIV was very common. And in recent years, we have introduced a specialty like nephrology, gastroenterology, neonatology. Because eye and orthopedics, they were there earlier on itself. As facilities were added, as money was available, CT scan, now a neonatal ward ICU is there. We have a neonatologist, a busy operation theater. This was one of the well-known surgical centers and also for medical care. A group of medical students who visited Odanchatram from CMC Vellore wanted a project, and we asked them to do, can you study the profile of the patients who attend our outpatient department as a sport study? And they did a study. If you see the figures, the summary of it is 94% of the patients who attend our hospital are in the lower class according to the modified Kupusami scale stratification of economic status of the people. We were happy because that's what we wanted. Training program is one important aspect of our training, reaching the younger generation, not only imparting medical knowledge, but also values of life. DNB programs, medical records school and college of nursing, our own programs like nurse anesthetist, OPD assistant, and recently we have added these specialties. So we do offer one layer of lest we forget our small beginnings. This collage is always presented in our story. This is where we started, small beginnings. haunted house to a secondary level healthcare institution with facilities, wards, housing, better buildings, all with the funds generated through the work. Only during COVID 1 and 2 waves, some of the friends helped by donating some a good amount for buying oxygenator and donated oxygen generators also. Community health. So in fact, three major aspects of our work is patient care in the hospital, community health in the villages around, and training programs. Primary health centers, other work, palliative care, school education, camps, destitute home, immunization. Now you can see the people are looking better and happier, more smile. And village clinics where nurse, health worker managed clinics with visiting doctor. And there's some of the pictures. So school health is not a school checkup. That was one good program. One of our doctors designed that school. In the schools, health was taught as part of the curriculum. The curriculum was designed, permission was obtained from the education department. Our staff would go to the school, one period, they call it 40 minutes, and health was taught in the classes. Certain classes were selected, and these children became very enthusiastic. Puppets and audio visual and their skits and dramas, and so communicated the way disease spread, and they could even suspect diseases like long-standing cough or patches on the skin, and they will refer them to our village clinics. Such a school health program, 60 such schools. Of course, a break from the heavy work, hiking, crossing a small, rare stream, and watching a morning bell flower blooming. Certain special features. Policies are made with a pro-poor bias. How will the poor get it? That's the question. What about the payment, which I already mentioned? Each according to his or her need, from each according to his ability. A flexible differential charging for services. No separate consultation to see a specialist or a consultant. No patient to be turned away for want of money. Whatever they can, they will receive. Services are priced below the market rate, and lifestyle of the staff to be simple. The care of the patients also, we wanted to keep it simple. Mostly clinical diagnosis. Investigations, essential, only minimal done. Because everything adds up to in the bill, and affordability will be a question. So this is a story of a humble beginning in a haunted house, and by God's abundant grace and the hard work of several people, I cannot count them. 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, they joined. They said, we will give our time. The founders, their legacy, the motivation was the self-giving love of God in Christ. And remember, I mentioned they were studying in Miraj for their medical school, LCPS. That was the time of freedom struggle. So they were a generation which watched the struggle under Gandhiji's leadership, the Mahatma's model of simplicity. So the founders used khadi dhotis instead of pants when they came. And this is a statement which I make, maybe provocative, but I want the young minds, the brilliant minds here to look at this. Do you really think this is correct? In life, everything is a gift. It is all given, not accomplished. Superficially, we may say we studied hard, we got a higher score in NEET, and so we went to the better good school. But underneath, there are so many imponderables which you and I were not in control. And because of all that, I am here today. You are here today. I want to say this is a life conviction for me. It's a gift. Why it makes important is one quotation about givenness of life. My health, my degree, my expertise is given to us. What do you have that you did not receive? If you received, why do you boast? Take credit as if you did not receive, as if you have accomplished it. Hard to accept it, I agree, but I want you to ponder over it. Why that is important is because if you believe that everything is given, you do not ask the question, what shall I do with my degree? What shall I do with my qualification? What shall I do with my expertise to get something for myself, my own prosperity, a passport to privilege? Rather, I would ask, if it's a gift, I will ask like this: what shall I do with this knowledge? What shall I do with this degree? What shall I do with this gift of medicine? That's what happened to me as a student in Trivandrum Medical College. After visiting Ottanchatram and the villages, this question came to me: what shall I do with medicine, with my life? I will say two things about that. One, will you stand in the gap? What is the meaning of the gap? That is the deficiencies in healthcare today in our country. It's very obvious. Nobody needs to really dilate upon it, the disparities. In that gap, somebody has to stand. Where there is deficiency, someone has to step in. That's what challenged me and our colleagues, standing in the gap of healthcare availability, accessibility in the midst of unethical commercialized practices. The second is, I would say, will you take sides? Will you say that I am on the side of the poor? Will you say that the poor also have a right to health? It is not a charity offered, but they deserve a good care. One specific, special, unique feature of our hospital is that there is a core group. This is the picture on our annual meeting taken. This is a registered charitable society. We are 22 people. Of this, 20 are present here. I think among these, except one, all the others are doctors. Except two, all are postgraduate doctors. Among this, there are 4 gold medalists in their respective institutions and boards. Why I mention is that rural medicine is not poor medicine. Poor people's medicine is not poor medicine. It is high quality medicine. It is good quality medicine given to the poor people, not low quality medicine given to the poor people. That is a challenge. I praise God, thank these dear ones, the younger people, younger to us, all of them in various departments. Another special feature about this group is that they have made a commitment to stay in the campus of the hospital and their lifetime. They don't retire and go like other employees. There is one stream which does that. They come, work, retire, and leave. But this core group will stay, whatever is the situation. They have made a commitment to stay together. So all the core group members, the society members, stay in the same campus. We have provision to stay. Houses are there, but we don't own. Nobody can own. It's societies. And so when they become old also, they contribute what they can. And the younger people join with newer enthusiasm and energy. That's what I mentioned, a lifelong commitment to live here and to die here. That commitment. Weekly we meet for prayer and business. Decision making is through a consensus and equity. Try to practice certain amount of equality, what better called equity, because for example the salary between the lowest and the highest difference is only 4 times. So the consultant salaries will come to 1/3 to 1/4 as compared to what they would get outside. We do have the challenges as the transition from the village to the town and many areas of change around us, internal and external milieu, to keep the original goal, not drifting from the ethos, challenge and train future generation in all things, pursue excellence. Wholesome healing for transformation is the mission statement. Wholesome healing transformation. As I am coming near the end of the presentation, I am bringing one picture from the earlier days, 50s, 60s, 70s. The picture itself speaks the condition of the people. And then later, this picture, we keep it as the happy picture, the transformation, not the marasmic look, but the chubby cheeks, the little one, hopeful eyes, a smile in the face of the mother. That is called transformation. The journey is not over. It's going on. Miles to go, much to cover. Resting on the top of one hill, we are conscious of the mountains behind. Can you see the mountains, the ranges? More mountains to be conquered, more challenges to be faced as we move to the sixth decade of our existence here as a secondary level hospital. Maintaining finance, providing people, adequate staff. This is an ongoing adventure. I want to invite the young, brilliant minds who are listening to me today. Will you think of this? Can you become an agent of transformation? Many in our country are facing such poverty, deprivation, backwardness. You are invited to be agents of transformation for such people who are waiting. God bless you as you pause and think. And I complete the presentation here. Shall I stop the sharing?